it's fitting that last time we take a look at a movie that traveled through time, because now we have a movie that travels through space with Guardians of the Galaxy. No one in their right mind would have expected this movie. The Guardians of the Galaxy were quite possibly the most obscure Marvel franchise that was still kicking around for some reason or another. Like, they had a few good storylines here and there, but they were never really all that popular of a team after this movie came out. Like, their biggest contribution was during the whole Annihilation storyline, which was mostly about the Marvel space stuff. Of all the Marvel properties that they could have brought to the big screen, this was the biggest risk factor. This was the one that no one could see coming, outside of when they first announced it. But they brought it, and it worked. It worked incredibly well to be one of the best Marvel movies that they've ever done up to that point. So let's see how Marvel brought these originally obscure characters to the forefront of the public consciousness. Let's dig into the plot now. Peter Quill is a young boy on Earth who, after the death of his mother, is abducted by aliens and taken into space. Years later, Peter, now going by the name Star-Lord, steals an orb from the planet Xandar. However, everyone wants this orb. Rocket, a cybernetically engineered raccoon, his partner, a humanoid tree named Groot, and Gamora, an assassin and the adopted daughter of Thanos, are all going after him, and all four of them in one big giant scuffle manage to get themselves arrested by the Nova Corps. While they're in jail, they manage to meet up with a prisoner named Drax, and all five of them plan a giant breakout to sell the cube, sell the orb, while the while Ronan of the Kree wants his hands on it, so that he can use it to secure power with Thanos, and use it as a way to invade the planet that the Nova Corps is based off of, and use as a weapon for the Kree Empire's domination. Yeah, that's not gonna be very good, especially when it's revealed that what the orb contains is in fact the Power Stone of the Infinity Stones. So the plot overall is ultimately a pretty simple tale, just split between five main characters. Albeit Groot's character is pretty simple when you get down to it, but he's still very, very memorable with his 4 lines of dialogue, which repeat ad nauseum. 3 lines of dialogue to repeat ad nauseum, but are really, really effective in the way he says it. If you haven't seen them, I recommend you go look at Vin Diesel's. He talks about playing Groot, and the fact he only says 3 lines, so he has to say those 3 lines so many different ways. Like, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot. It's kind of hilarious watching him. Anyway, all the Guardians work pretty well off one another, and of course, all the jokes fly pretty quickly. But this isn't a complete comedy. There are some few heart-touching scenes here or there. There's a lot of stuff between Star-Lord and Gamora. They set up a bit of a start of a romance there, but they don't really pay that off in this movie. So to say that's probably a good thing. I really don't see them hooking up within a span of about a week of knowing each other. And speaking of that, this is the first piece of cinematic universe to focus on Marvel's vast space canon, and it pulls it off well. In terms of the Marvel Universe, space is one of their biggest things that isn't really explored all that much outside of a few comics here or there. There's a lot of Marvel cosmic stuff, and again, outside of maybe a Fantastic Four a few times, obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, anytime Thanos comes up, and sometimes the X-Men, because surprisingly the X-Men involve themselves with a lot of aliens, it's not really all that gone into. But I do love it whenever it is. Space in this movie is well represented, as it's both wondrous, dangerous, beautiful, and cramped, wide open, and tightly packed. Basically, you get to see the difference between the tightly packed spaceships as well as the wide open void, and the differences that they bring. On top of that, it sort of has an Aliens vibe at how the technology is collected. It's not this whole sleek, Apple this whole Apple Store appearance. It's more like how space travel was portrayed in the Aliens franchise. The whole future retro tech, which sounds really, really ridiculous when you say it like that. And look, again, all the spaceships, especially when we get to like big openings, look like they just cramped piles of tech in a very limited space. And yeah, that is pretty accurate to what space travel would actually entail. Honestly, it was a long time coming for Marvel to pull off a space drama, and of course, they played it off well. Another plus is that this one explains the whole crux of the cinematic universe, the Infinity Stones. After aping up the Tesseract for most of Phase 1 and then having that one be an Infinity Stone, now leading to their whole big thing until Infinity War comes out eventually, they didn't really explain what the hell the Infinity Stones were until this movie. And of course, there's the whole Howard the Duck reference in the post-credit scene, which is pretty much a good ending brick joke, as well as a giant Marvel. It was Marvel pretty much staring, "Hey, we can make a reference to Howard the Duck and actually make it work. We're unbeatable." That's basically Marvel's big swinging dick thing right now. Also, there are a ton of other references in the collector's room, such as Astro the Cosmonaut Dog and Adam Warlock's Cocoon, as well as there's the meme lord of himself, Baby Groot. Overall, this is a great film, and a long overdue space adventure that ultimately just works. And now, let's not forget that Howard Duck is officially canon, and I'll let us await his expanded role in the cinematic universe, which will ultimately be him serving as a giant brick joke. And let's see if we can have more Astro in the future, because he's a telepathic talking, a telepathic cosmonaut dog. Why would we not have more of this character?